Hey there, it's Kelly from Kelly's Astrology here. I'm here with my dear friend and colleague, Andrea Gehrz today, and we're talking about her new book, Astral Somatica, which is due to be launched later this month, Andy, I think.
Yes, on October 13th, actually. We're having the Virgo who I wrote the book with thinks it'll be a nice book launch, and I'm like, it's a rager.
Oh, the full moon in Aries?
I don't know, is it? So this is the poster. It's in Portland on the 13th.
I love it. So whereabouts in Portland is the book launch going to be?
It's at a bookstore called Two Rivers Bookstore in St. John's. It's an area of Portland. Kind of cute.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I think you guys have a sale on the book price right now for people who buy in the lead up to the launch. Is that right? Or am I imagining things on Amazon?
Oh yeah, actually, I think Casey set that up, my co-author, to have pre-sale books for $20 or something like that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's great that you saw that.
Yeah, so we'll have the link in the show notes below. So if you do want to grab a copy of Andy's new book, Astral Somatica, and you have written this with a friend and colleague, Casey, right?
Yes, Casey Cardoso, who works out of Portland as a licensed massage therapist and a kinesiologist. We wrote the book together. We also had an intern on the project, Melanie Gurley. I don't know if
I know Melanie. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, so Melanie helped a lot with editing and getting illustrations correct and things like that. But Casey has been studying sports medicine forever and has worked under several chiropractors and wanted the, I guess, ability to not diagnose, but I guess be in charge of treatment planning, and is also an astrologer. So over the years, the last 5 years, Casey has been kind of working on a lot of research on how to treat hard aspects and transits in real time, and does some treatment planning in real time and things like that.
That's amazing. So was your intention then to basically provide, I guess, a protocol or some sort of structure for practitioners to help clients with difficult aspects in the natal chart and with transits?
Yeah, great question. You know how it's hard to learn astrology in a way because every chart is different.
Yes.
Unlike psychology, where you'll take a survey and then you get lumped into a category, astrology starts with each chart as an individualized schematic, I guess. And so we were trying to make a workbook that's also a textbook where you could run any chart through the activities of that book and have done a medical or physical analysis of that chart. So it kind of provides a skeleton and a system to thoroughly grok the physical aspects of a chart.
Oh my God, I love it. I mean, we were talking before the show and I was telling you of my love of like health and medical astrology and just how I'm not sure that it gets enough attention in modern practice. Like it's kind of pushed into this extra specialization, whereas I think historically it was more part of the normal work of an astrologer. And so the book that you guys have created, it sounds like it's really going to help people put a chart through that physical analysis, I guess, so you can see what does this mean in the body of the person.
Yeah. And we were talking before we got online, and we were talking about how when you're an astrologer, you end up doing all this physical, remedy, and you feel like a doctor for a few days, and then all of a sudden you're doing something spiritual, and you're like, wait, maybe I'm a spiritualist. And then and so astrologers actually do a gamut of consultation. I don't know, we consult on many different topics, I guess. And so this is building on the question you asked earlier. This book is meant for both massage therapists and then also advanced astrologers. So an advanced astrologer can read the book and then have a way to understand physical as they're doing their readings. But an LMT who's interested in astrology can also read the book and then incorporate astrology into their practice. So it's kind of a twofold audience, I guess.
The businesswoman in me is like, that's very clever from a marketing business perspective, but it is interesting because, and this is actually, you just said something that's helped me clarify my own background. I spent nearly 10 years working as a massage therapist in the early years of my astrology practice.
Wow.
And so what I have realized over the years is that I do have more of an understanding of anatomy and physiology than the average astrologer out there would, because I spent 10 years with my hands on people's bodies and understanding not just I have a sore shoulder, but the emotion and the psychology that is in that physical symptom. And in many ways, this is perhaps why I was so excited for this book, because it's bringing those two practices, massage therapy and astrology, together.
Yeah, I can't believe you. I didn't know that about
and I
you.
forgot to tell you that beforehand, so I'm just dropping that on you live on air.
Well, that's actually great, because as a working theoretician, I it's like, I want massage therapists, astrologers to have this information. One of the things we do is look into the dermatomes and the fascia, which you're probably familiar with already.
Yep. But tell us about them, because most of our listeners are going to be like, what's the fascia?
Right. So fascia is the connective tissue that runs throughout the body. And, when doctors are kind of looking at a cadaver, they generally just take it off, like they think it's nothing. But what scientists are finding is it's actually like the organ of consciousness. So it's like, I can lift my arm with my gross motor muscles, or I can lift it with my fascia, which is kind of like just with my mind. It's like a very, so how we hold our consciousness depends on our chart, which is wired into the fascia, is how we see it. And the fascia then acts as this fiber optic network, sending chi and energy along certain pathways. So that's really important to medical kinesiology, astrology. And then the dermatomes are these swaths of nervous tissue that kind of run along that layer, I think. And they're kind of like the most subtle nervous system. Is that how you understand it? I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's all very subtle, right? As soon as we're outside the muscular system, everything is happening in a more subtle, almost gentle, but it's still very profound kind of way.
Yeah, totally. So I think the dermatomes have electromagnetic capability. They seem to take in, waves or frequencies and transfer it up to the spine, and it goes back and forth. So like we see, we look at the sun and moon and how they wire the body through the spine, but then how the vertebrae send out energy along the nerves into the dermatomes and the organs. And so for a massage therapist who already knows what those are, it's quite, enlightening.
It sounds really rich and really practical in terms of being able to do something. And I guess I'm really curious about the workbook part of the book. Are there physical exercises or stretches or lifestyle practices that you've included so that the person with the chart can then take those away as like part of their self-care?
Good question. Yeah, we do. I think we have nostril breathing in there, to realign the chakras. I think we have people dousing auras with like coat hanger,
Yeah.
Kind of practicing feeling the energy part of it. But then, so there are some of the activities are like find your Mars in your spine. Find your Saturn in your spine. Notice the effects of that. And there's a worksheet for every planet. So it's like, here's your Neptune, here it is in the body, here's what the effect is. And so they're drawing that out.
Wow.
Yeah. So where's your Saturn?
In Virgo.
Okay. So can I speak to a little bit what
sure.
that means?
Yeah, I'm like, we need a little bit of an example, don't we? So people get a sense of this, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Saturn in the spine, we have found to create a very, concretizing part of the spine. Like if you look at an MRI or an X-ray of your Saturn spot, the bone is actually really dense, I guess.
Yes.
And so all the fascia that comes out of that vertebrae gets really tight. The way Casey says it is like having a plastic bag kind of pinched. And so Saturn in Virgo gets pinched in the midriff right here. It's just right here. And so theoretically, if you feel your spine back there, you would feel like a hard...
like at the top of the lumbar spine region or below the thoracic? Kind of.
Well, let's see. So Virgo Libra is the belly button, I think. That's like the...
So we are doing like Aries to Pisces from like the top down, basically. So Virgo Libra is sort of in the middle, basically. Yeah. Like on the belly button, but through to the back.
Yeah, and so we call it the Ring of Saturn. Like it'll actually be tight from the front of the vertebrae all the way around to the back.
Yep.
And generally we see Saturn and Virgo people have the more hourglass shape. They just get pulled in the middle.
Pulled in the center. Yeah. I've always been very grateful to have an hourglass to go with, like, if you're going to have curves, you want the in the middle, right? Just to give it a nice shape.
Right.
But I would never have put it down to that Saturn ring. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was something that we figured out, from reading Judith Hill's book on medical astrology and Cornell's encyclopedia. We could see all the documentation of Saturn issues, but it had never been traced back to the nerve root in the vertebrae. And so what we do a lot when we're fixing Saturn problems is we break it up at the vertebrae. Like, let's say you were having tight peristalsis or something, that would be a Saturn Virgo problem. Like,
yeah. Yes, it is. Let's talk about digestive problems.
Yeah, right. I was trying to be doctory. But so let's say you're having digestive issues, and we would attack that from the spine outward. So we're going into the spine and like tap it. Casey will tap it out and like shot out and things like that.
I love it. Oh my gosh. So basically what you're saying is you find where in the spine your Saturn would be according to the sign placement of your Saturn. And then the body part that has its nerves coming out of that vertebrae, like they're going to be sort of the areas that you're going to have that tightening or that almost calcifying. Like Saturn can concretize things, but in the body, we don't want things to become concrete. We want them to stay supple, basically.
Right. Yeah. And they call it the seat of the soul or the root of the soul. And so I think there's a psychosomatic reason for Saturn. It's like, it's where we like get tight and like think, oh, I can't do everything, or I can't take on another project. I mean, I think it's in the psyche for a reason, but if it's beating you up, like if you have TMJ and you have Saturn and Gemini and you can't move your jaw, like there's too much tension that's somatically built up in there from years of transits,
So, okay, Andy, I'm curious. I want to like almost flip this around. Where is your Saturn and how, like, have you seen working on that part of your spine? What kind of results have you had from that?
Okay. Well, I have Saturn in Leo.
Okay.
One of the most horrible Saturns. Not happy there. So it causes actually the lower lobe of my lung is really tight. I've had asthma since I was really young. And I get a lot of like this scapula, it gets like just pulled in.
Yeah, because it would be just behind almost the heart center, Saturn in Leo, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely affects the heart chakra. It closes it naturally a little bit. And yeah, it's very tight. A lot of my students have it and they all sit in the front row and behave really well. And like, it just they're like tight, But to kind of flip this around, it makes you think of Saturn at home, like in Capricorn.
Yeah.
It creates hardening where we want bones, like the Capricorn grows the bone. And so when you have Saturn there, it's not inhibiting anything like personal.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's creating that foundation, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay,
but,
so
I do all kinds of things on my Saturn.
Yeah, no, I love it. And obviously then you would know to get treatment on your body around that part to manage the Saturn. And as you were saying, Saturn in Leo, technically one of the detriment placements of Saturn. So being more sensitive to managing that body part, knowing that the planetary configuration is a little bit more stressed, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think if your heart chakra, if your heart is tight, that's really affects your well-being, So you do have to attack it. I have seen though, every Saturn is funny. Like the Saturn in Capricorn generation right now.
Yeah.
Their hips are so tight and their knee, and it's so literal.
One of my sisters is the Saturn in Capricorn generation that's Saturn returning now. And ever since she was a teenager, she's had like hip and back problems, like what we used to tease and be like old lady problems when she was still quite young because of, the bone factor.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's pretty literal. So, well, and then another one that's a big one is Mars. Mars.
My Mars in Aquarius.
Okay. So Mars creates an inflammation pathway somewhere on the dermatome line. So Aquarius, that goes down to the calf, but if you look at the dermatomes, it goes up to the spine. So you'll get heat all the way down the leg. And, I've seen boils on the calf with Mars and Aquarius.
Oh my goodness.
It's not super hot there though. Not super pathological,
No. What are some of the more difficult Mars placements you see showing up with the body?
Mars in Scorpio and Mars in Aries are, Mars is at home there.
Yes.
ton of red. So like Mars and Aries, it gives a lot of potential for feverishness, like spinal meningitis, right? Would be like burning out of
Ah,
the, right? But most people don't have enough heat in the system to get spinal meningitis. Like I mean, you understand how Mars and Aries would make a collection of red around the face. Okay,
yes.
so we get that. So that's one, you know, where might see acne or boils or, you know, fevers.
Yeah. So the Mars in Aries is just going to really aggravate that hot, infected, inflamed pathway, I guess, and very much around the head. So, because you know, with Saturn, you were talking about the spine. Are there correlations with Mars? Like, is there a particular body part? Do you go to the body part of the sign that Mars is in?
Absolutely. Yeah, it comes out the same. We would see it comes in the eyes and then comes out through the dermatomes of that area. So, you know, so if a person had too much heat and they were in maybe a Mars return and they got a fever, you know, that's when you get into trying to pull out heat, and that's where you get into remedies are more like cupping and, you know, anything where you're pulling out red, basically.
Pulling out red. I like that. Yeah, because Mars in Aries would be like, you know, in addition to really red, bad acne, it could be like migraines and things like that, or brain blood sort of issues that are very random. And I guess,
Yes.
yeah, you'd want, so then it's an excess of heat. You want to cool it down. So can we get the heat out, or can we add cooling influences to try and temper it, I guess?
Great. That's both. I think
Yeah.
you know, sometimes we balancing as a technique. You know, you could even put like tin foil on your head trying to keep the rays out. I mean, like, I don't know how you.
I love it. So here's a question, because in practice, I see a lot of people with Mars in Cancer dealing with tummy or food issues. Is that something you both see, and how would you normally go about treating that?
Okay, great. So Mars in Cancer is kind of interesting because it inflames the stomach meridian. I almost want to get my Mars in Cancer doll.
Oh my gosh, like, so that you can point? I love this. Go for it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, just while Andy has scooched off center, I want to bring her book on the screen just so, well, Andy and Casey's book. So this is the link on Amazon with Melanie's name, who was the intern, Casey, and Andy. Now there is, I'm going to take you to where you can get, I was just showing them the Amazon page, and I'm just going to bring them back to your website, which is where the discounted price is. So the website here is, it's on Casey's website, caseycardoso.com, under Astral Somatica book. And what you all are looking for is this link here, where basically I think you have about 24 hours. I'm going to get this video live very shortly after we speak, but it looks like there's an early bird offer to get a bit of a discount if you buy soon. Otherwise, you can find it on Amazon. Okay, Andy, show us your doll. I love this.
Okay. So I made the Mars in Cancer doll to show what happens when the stomach meridian is inflamed.
So this is a Barbie that you have like co-opted?
Yeah, totally. So you'll actually see like a red, like when there's a transit, you'll see red come in and it starts to flow out, and it goes down the stomach meridian. And so what the reason that bothers the stomach is that the actual lining, the watery lining of the stomach runs through that meridian. So it can create like an acidic environment.
Yep.
You know, like GERD, a gastrointestinal reflux.
Yes, GERD. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of remedies for that. For example, drinking your coffee on ice is a big one I use. Like you basically take in a lot of cold beverages or cold drink.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to just think about, if that nerve is inflamed, how can you cool it down? Because a lot of people, when they have acidic environment, they like to ride it. They like to drink a lot of coffee and sugar. It's like I don't know, but you don't want to create like a petri dish where your Mars is, because, you know, think about bacteria. It grows in a warm environment. So a lot of the problems that come with Mars will be like when it becomes inflamed, or like something like a virus grows in it, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, so, absolutely. Because warm conditions, like especially warm, moist conditions, I mean, that's how everything grows. But if Mars is in there, we're going to get the disease growing, or the acidic environment replicating.
Right. So yeah, so if you drink all this pop and you're on a Mars return there and it's all heated up naturally in that time frame, you're kind of, creating the perfect conditions to get kind of sick.
Yes.
But if you watch a transit and you're like, all right, I'm really inflamed and I drink a bunch of chlorella powder and like alkalize my system with a bunch of green, you can also, that's a temperance way, when you're trying to do everything temperately.
Yeah, in a gentle way, I guess, the temperate.
Yeah, well, it's transit based. I mean, I think we can move on to a different question, but I think earlier you had mentioned something about, living in the chart in a way, how do I put this? Like you're almost flying in your chart. And I think, or like you were talking about the Greeks maybe. So there's this thing called melatao, which is to train your body for what it was built for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like part of what we do is we work with what people were built for. So we're trying to move Mars energy. So if you have Mars in Cancer, there's certain exercises that will transmute the heat into muscle, like rolling, like speed bag boxing is a big one with Mars and Cancer, or boxing because it's the muscle right here. So
which is where the stomach meridian or the meridian for that runs through. Yeah.
Exactly. So one way we do it is transmute the energy into muscle, but you can also cool it down or you can pull it out.
So this is fantastic. And are all of these types of things covered in the book, or are we just kind of riffing a little here on the astrology? I just want to...
Well, I think the Mars and Saturn placement of the spine is in the book.
Yeah.
The remedies we're kind of riffing on because every situation is different.
Yeah.
So the book will teach you how to understand the schematic, but then, that's why you're a pro, is like, what I'm talking about, and you're like already probably riffing on remedies. It's part of the understanding is that you get into the problem solving.
Yes. Which I think is, as astrologers, ultimately what we love doing. It's like solving the problem where there's like a spirit, body, energy interface, basically.
Totally.
So,
yeah. And
yeah.
Well, we purposely didn't pathologize anything in this first book because we wanted to take a physical look without medicalizing things. So you're not going to get in this book like, oh, your Mars is in Aries, you're going to get an aneurysm. Like there's no. No. We're just trying to get it mapped out so that in the second book we can get more to the remedy.
So what are the plans for the second book? The remediation?
Casey and Melanie are always working on some stuff and they're overflowing. And I'm like, that'll go in another book. I don't know. Casey's like telling me about a case. There's always a case. I don't know.
I love it. So this is the first book that you and Casey have collaborated on. But it's not the first book you've written because you actually have your own press too, right?
Yeah, I've published many books, but yeah, I mean, they're all co-written in a way because the translations are actually someone else's book.
Yes.
So, but this is the first one where we did like original research with a partner. And I don't like to publish books on my own because it seems not self-aggrandizing, but the research is more for the good of the field. It's not like I don't need to write a bunch of books,
Yeah, it's not for you personally. It's more about that making a contribution and supporting that collaborative or community environment.
Yeah, it's like, you probably understand this. You seem a lot like a scholar to me. Like I live as an astrological scholar would, which is publishing.
Yeah.
Right? Scholars publish. So, and they do research. So it's more part of the role of the total job, I guess.
Yes, yes, the depth and the genuine kind of essence of the job, if you like.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have so many. I mean, we could talk all day, but I know obviously we don't have all day. What else do you want people to know about this book? Anything that you think people should know before they buy it, or that might encourage them to buy it, I guess?
Well, first, I want them to know a little bit about you and how you live in Australia, because all my students want to know what the sky is like in Australia. So,
yes.
This is an aside, but I want to know, do the signs apply in the Southern Hemisphere?
They apply in exactly the same way that they apply in the Northern Hemisphere. This is a really good question, and it does come up. In fact, I had never heard this question until I left Australia. And then when I got to Canada, where I lived for more than 10 years, everyone was like, does it still work down there? And it does work because I know in North America, I think it's very common to learn like Aries spring and get a lot of the keywords and concepts from Aries, but that may not necessarily be how you teach or how you learned, because Aries is so much more than that. Like there's that first or that beginning. I definitely think that, you know, the Northern Hemisphere seasons have influenced the signs to a certain degree, but I think they are more than just that, if that makes sense.
So if Libra is kind of palatable and neutral and pastel in Portland, would the sky be neutral and pastel in Australia?
Right now, I mean, it is beautiful right now because it's springtime in Australia. So the flowers are coming out. It's a very Venus time of year, actually, because we have our beautiful jasmine and we have this stunning plant called the jacaranda, which is this vibrant blue and very fragrant, especially in Sydney, where I'm from. The sky's different in Australia.
Okay, well, let's say like Scorpio time, which is very, like, everyone knows because it's Halloweenish, right? Mm-hmm. So in Australia, it'd be like Halloween in the spring?
Yes.
Yeah. So goths in Australia like love the spring?
So what, sorry? Who loves?
Do goths in Australia like
Well, Halloween is not as big. It certainly wasn't when I was growing up in Australia as it is in the States, actually. So when I was a kid, almost nobody did trick-or-treating. And so there's also that too. Culturally, these things are a little different as well. I think the goths probably like the winter time in Australia, but that wouldn't be Scorpio season.
Okay, I gotta think now for a year. Okay.
Yeah, totally. It's very different because culturally, you know, our celebrations are a little different. We don't have a Thanksgiving celebration, for instance. So like Sagittarius season in Australia is like the start of summer, which is everybody's just outside playing sports, going on holidays. It's not so much the gratitude Thanksgiving thing, but there is a lot of celebration that's going on.
Fascinating. Okay, that's a good study. Okay, that'll give me something to think about.
Fantastic.
Okay, about the book, just anything else? I was thinking, it's for the beginner and the advanced astrologer. There's basic fun stuff like astro fashion and coloring, which people like.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So like what to wear or what colors to wear on certain parts of your body?
Yeah, totally. Well, like you're a Pisces, right?
Yes.
So like we'd say that, you know, when Pisces look good in rainbows or shimmer or metallics, you know, things like that. The idea is you kind of pop if you wear the colors of your chart.
Oh my gosh. And so the colors of like your sun sign, your rising sign, your moon, like all of the above, or?
Yeah, and it's cyclical, you know, so like people's eye color will change per the transits. A quick story about this. I had a friend who was an Aquarius and they look great in white and green, and she would wear that a lot. And for her band, they'd agreed on white. Well, one day she had her moon in Aries and the sun went into Aries right on her moon, and she shows up in this red shirt. She's like, I just got to wear red. I don't know what it is. And like, we would say that the rods and cones of the eye are all of a sudden on their frequency, you know, but it's stuff like that. It looks at the cyclical expression of eye color and things like that.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So what you might wear would change based on triggers to your moon or to your ascendant, or even maybe to your Venus potentially.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So what colors should you wear based on your chart? I know you're often in dark colors.
Yeah, well, so I'm a very Scorpio, so I wear a lot of black, but I have a Gemini rising, so I wear light blue, like my eyes are light blue. And then my Pisces love shimmer and metallics.
Yeah.
What's your moon?
There's a lot of Pisces in my chart. So I usually just, all the Pisces things, I usually just go for those.
Okay. Yeah. Pisces, it really can see all the colors. I think it's sensitive to all the seasons.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So there's actually like fashion tips but like from like a functional energetic maybe not raise your vibration, but good for your energy is to dress according to your chart in the book.
Yeah. Yeah, you can even remedy with color. Let's say you have like 30,000 planets in Earth, you know, and you wear like all brown and you're like, why don't people think I'm exciting? You're like, put on some red.
So I like that. So you can not just dress for your chart, but you can sort of dress to stimulate or compensate for a lack of something in your chart.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
love it. Oh my gosh. This sounds really fun and really practical. And because you were saying it's for the beginner and the advanced astrologer, student. Because I'm imagining that for the beginner, they're going to get an insight into some of the body parts and like just the astrophysiology, which isn't taught in all beginner astrology classes, but I certainly think it should be. So
Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
Fantastic. Now, will you guys be doing any teaching off the book? Are you going to do any workshops or anything like that? I know you've got your book launch coming up.
Yeah. So we do plan to teach a series at the Portland School of Astrology in the winter and spring. Of course, I have to get that approved by my bosses, so we'll see. And then also I'll be in Seattle in November, I believe, teaching the topic.
Excellent. Fantastic. And if people want more info on that, is the best place to come to your website or to Casey's website? What's the best URL?
Honestly, I think the best way to follow what's up is to be on my Facebook because I upload it regularly.
Perfect. And what's your Facebook? Is it your personal one or do you have a business one?
It's just personal. It's Andrea Gehrz.
Okay.
Jersey.
Gehrz. I love the all the different sounds. I'm just
Can
going
we
to
send you a few books just as a thank you for?
Oh my gosh, of course. So this is Andy's Facebook page here, if anybody wants to find her. So that's the best place for people to come and find out more. And there you are talking about us, which is great. Yeah, you can absolutely send, we can talk about that after if you want. And maybe, I thought we should give a copy away, maybe.
Okay.
Comment below. We're going to pick a random number and we'll give a copy away to somebody who's watching.
Awesome.
I love it. The Pisces giveaway, basically.
Yeah, I'll sign it.
Even better, signed author copy. That's brilliant.
Maybe I'll throw in a magic card. Look, I brought.
Oh yes, you brought your magic cards.
Okay.
Do one before we finish.
This is what it felt like to have to write this book because it took 5 years. It's the Nimble Innovator card.
Oh my goodness.
In a capture sphere.
Wow.
Ah!
5 years. That is a long time from like birth to, well, I guess just conception to birth is really what we should be saying. That's a long gestation.
That's a lot of multivitamins.
It's a lot. Well, now you have your book launch coming out and you can go and celebrate. But thank you so much for coming today to share with us. And I hope you guys do follow Andy. She is just an absolute gem in our astrological field. And I also want to give a quick shout out to your other book, Astrology Remediation, which people can also find via your Facebook page, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
really
you very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And hopefully we'll see each other maybe at Norwalk next year again.
I'll be there.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay. All right. I'm going to sign us off and stop the recording. And if you guys have any more questions as you're listening, pop a question below or jump on Andy's Facebook page. She will be happy to help you. Ciao for now.